Here are 4 important tips that you can use to approach this task in order to maximize your potential marks. 1. Begin with a top-down approach. A top-down approach refers to an approach to a new text, which allows us to engage our own background knowledge in relation to a topic. So, if we were about to listen to a radio documentary in our own language about a viral disease, we would go into that documentary with certain ideas and expectations. We'd be thinking about things such as where the virus began, the effects of the virus, how to avoid catching the virus. We might make comparisons between the virus and other viruses we are knowledgeable about. All of these ideas prepare us to listen to an extended text. The logical expectations we have when we listen exist to allow us to make more sense more quickly of new information. Just as we would approach a text like this in our own language in order to help us make sense of it, we can take the same approach to an OET listening part text. The first line will always tell us who is speaking and what the topic of the text will be. For example, here's the first line from a sample OET question. You hear an interview with a cardiologist called Dr. Jack Robson, who's an expert on Chagas disease. So what is the topic going to be here? Hopefully, you can clearly see that it will be Chagas disease. Now you can begin to activate your background knowledge in a similar way to how you would do in relation to the virus. 2. Use the interview questions as a guide. OET listening part C has 2 extracts. They will either be in the form of a presentation with only one speaker or they will be in the form of an interview with 2 speakers. If it's an interview, this can be useful as each time the interviewer asks a question it should act as a prompt to the listener that he needs to focus on a new question from the question paper. In the sample question above, for example, we are told initially that we will hear an interview. If we listen to the recording, we will hear the first question the interviewer asks: what is Chagas disease and why is it referred to as a neglected disease? If we look at the question paper, we will see the first question is, why does Dr. Robson regard Chagas as a neglected disease? The next question the interviewer asks is, are there concerns in the USA about Chagas? The next question in the question paper is, Dr. Robson says concerns over Chagas in the USA are the result of. Hopefully, you can see here that the interviewer's questions and the questions on the question paper strongly match, so we have a very useful guide as to when we should be moving on to the next question. This is an important strategy as it can help us to navigate the recording and avoid missing answers. 3. Listen out for signposting language. If you're listening to the presentation rather than the interview, then you will need to listen out for signposting language as your guide. Signposting language is language which indicates the beginning of a new idea or the end of an old idea, and it helps to organize longer stretches of speech. Using sequencing adverbs such as first, second, or by using discourse markers such as now, and so to indicate a change of topic or the development of an idea can do this. Here is an example of a presentation type OET question. You hear an occupational therapist called Anna Matthews giving a talk to a group of trainee doctors. Now, there will be no interviewer here to break up the questions, but if we look at how the speaker begins her ideas, we can still be guided. Near the beginning of the presentation, the speaker says first, let's think about what we understand by occupational therapy. Very helpfully, this relates directly to the focus on the first question, which is, Anna says that the main focus on her work as an occupational therapist is. The speaker then shows that she's moving on to her next idea by saying, now, on to my case study. It involves a patient called Ted. The next question in the exam is, meanwhile, when Anna first met the patient called Ted, she was. So, we can see here how the speaker uses this signposting language to help listeners navigate the questions. Practice listening out for it when you next do your OET listening part practice. 4. Listen to interviews and presentations online. There is a wealth of English language content out there which will help you prepare for what you will encounter in OET listening part. Podcasts are particularly useful as, just as in the OET listening exam, you will only be able to access the audio, no visuals. BBC podcasts include a range of interviews and extended monologues. Other podcasts, such as Sam Harris Making Sense, include long-form interviews and extended speech where you will get to listen to many different accents and hear many examples of